Welcome back to another edition of Unnecessary Roughness. It's been an off weekend for me. I'm not going to lie. I didn't get to really watch a lot of football this weekend. Had to do a lot of work. But the one game that everyone's been talking about is probably the two best teams in the AFC at this point was the Chiefs versus the Pats last night on Sunday Night Football. Ended up 43-40. It's not a game you would expect coming out of those two teams.
Yeah, I mean, based off of that score, like, you would have thought that this was like a noon Big 12 game. Like, you wouldn't expect any of these teams to put up that number. Well, New England, I guess I wouldn't have expected. Kansas City, Patrick Mahomes has been on fire. But, yeah, no, that was huge for, Tom Brady has 8 Super Bowl appearances. Patrick Mahomes has 7 career starts. Like, so, we're talking apples
different
and oranges.
different ends of the spectrum.
Yeah.
One starting their career, one wrapping one up. And they both played lights out last night and tore up the field. It was like you said, that's a score you would expect from college football, not from the NFL. Both quarterbacks, like I said, played very well. Patrick Mahomes is still probably one of my front runners for the MVP award this year. He's been playing lights out. Like you said, only 7 career starts so far. What are your whole thoughts on that AFC title picture, the AFC championship, playoffs? What do you think about that whole thing?
Yeah, I mean, yesterday was definitely a good preview. Personally, I feel the more Josh Gordon gets acclimated with the system, along with Julian Edelman, because he was coming back from a suspension, the New England offense is only going to get better. The defense is still in question, but to a certain degree, when you have Tom Brady leading the charge offensively, I think you'll be okay. So, no, it was a good preview. And then, in terms of other AFC teams' title picture, we had the Jacksonville Jaguars. This defense is supposed to be legit. They go into Dallas and just get a walked over. I think it was like 30-7 was the score. I'm not 100% on that, but nonetheless, they got blown out. So
by a Cowboys team that's not looked very good this season.
So there's questions there with the Jags. Besides New England and Kansas City, I don't really know who else you could have coming out of the AFC.
Because the AFC North right now it's a mess. You don't know who's going to come out of that. Looking like Pittsburgh, but Cincinnati's been playing well. Cleveland has been better coaching. They're definitely better than their record indicates.
Yeah.
And then the Ravens are a hot and cold team. You never know who you're going to play week to week. So the AFC North, you could almost pull any team out of there to make the playoffs. Do they make a wild card? I'm not sure yet. Down in the AFC West, you got the Chiefs. I'm not seeing much out of any of the other teams there to pull any one of them out for the wild card. The AFC East, we already said the Patriots. Dolphins have been playing great until they play the Patriots, and then they play great again against your team, sadly.
Yeah.
But then, the AFC South. Who knows about those? Those are all mediocre to bad teams, in my opinion. They're not, I don't see anyone in there that I would say they're definitely good enough to be in the playoffs. The AFC is like the entire NFL even is incredibly wide open this season. It feels like I say it every week, but I'm having trouble pulling out any teams this season for a 1-6 in the AFC and a 1-6 for the NFC. All the teams so far are very kind of hot and cold. They're not consistent at all. And as they mentioned on Every Day is Saturday, it kind of seems that way. And I mentioned to you before we got on, it seems that like inconsistency is just running everywhere in football right now, except for a couple teams in both college and pros. It's very, there's a lot of parity this season in the NFL.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the AFC is, again, we have those top 2 teams locked. I think the NFC is a little more wide open because obviously, yes, you have the Rams, right? They're only undefeated left. But you kind of look from there, what's going on with Philly, what's going on with Minnesota. So you're looking at some of these teams who were in the playoffs last year. I think the NFC is a lot more wide open than the AFC. I think the AFC will kind of shake itself out as we get deeper into the season, October and November coming up, wrapping up there. But I think the NFC is wide open. Like you have obviously the Los Angeles Rams number 1. I couldn't give you who's going to be number 2 after that. Like there's no. So yeah, it'll be a fun end of the season to see how it wraps up. But luckily, unlike the NFL with the college, you don't have to rank them. Because
there's not enough teams to properly rank them.
No.
So I mentioned there's parity in the NFL. Now we're going to talk about a different kind of parity, and that is Nathan Peterman at quarterback. He is absolutely awful.
Yeah.
And yes, granted, he's still miles better than any one of us, anyone on the crew.
Do we know that, though? Do we know that, though?
But he has just been absolutely dreadful this whole season, and getting in there after Josh Allen got hurt and just stinking it up again.
Well, and what blows my mind, too, is, starting with last offseason, that the Bills traded away Tyrod Taylor, right, thinking Peterman was going to be their guy. They draft Josh Allen. They see a little bit of Peterman. They're like, you know what, never mind. So they throw Allen in there, who
they also traded for A.J. McCarron.
Yeah. I forgot about that as well, but, man, I haven't heard that name in a minute. So, obviously, Allen goes down, and, Nathan Peterman. Like, there was stories that before he went into the game, he went up to the coaches and was like, I got this. And then he throws a pick six. Like, Nathan Peterman, and what was it, last year, the year before that, he had like a 5-interception game. Like, yeah, how this dude is employed in the NFL. Go play in like the AFL or something like that, arena football, Canadian football.
The XFL's going to be looking for some players soon.
Like this guy has no business in the NFL. Like, and I feel bad. I like Bills Mafia. I like the Buffalo Bills. But depending on how serious, and I don't exactly recall any kind of updates, depending on how serious the Josh Allen injury is, like, you got to wave the white flag. Like
at that point, it's that, I'd rather play a player who doesn't play quarterback in there to play quarterback. And, it's a terrible situation because the Bills last year were a playoff team.
Yeah.
And then they just started selling off parts. They went into a rebuild almost, but they didn't want to call it a rebuild.
Yeah.
They were reloading the team, and probably trying to probably trying to get rid of that Tyrod Taylor contract that they had signed him to, and it wasn't even an awful contract compared to today's NFL quarterbacks, but they're getting paid. But they're just a mess. That's the team's a dumpster fire at this point. I'm not sure how they won a couple weeks ago against Green Bay. I'm still not figuring that one out.
Yeah, you mean Minnesota?
Minnesota, yes.
Yeah, where they won like 22-0, and then Nathan Peterman shows up, and
it was one of those mediocre NFC North teams they beat.
And to a certain degree, and even if Josh Allen was healthy and was in the whole game, it wasn't going to be a great game anyways because it was Houston and Buffalo. So it was never going to be a great game. But we might have a new segment idea. Joe becomes an NFL quarterback because seriously, like Nathan Peterman. I'm sorry, Bills Mafia. I guarantee you, no one from Bills Mafia is watching this, but looking right into your face, I'm sorry, man. Just keep smashing tables. That's about all you can do at this point because their team isn't going to win.
So now going from the Bills situation, we're going to talk about our own teams. We're going to start with you. Your team played this weekend. How'd they do, Joe?
We're lucky that we have a time restriction for these segments. Like, this loss, it almost hurts worse than the Green Bay because at least Green Bay was like, wow, dominant, and then Aaron Rodgers did his Aaron Rodgers thing, right? That's just always going to happen until I'm dead, so I can move past that. But coming off the bye, everything was sounding good. Like, I wasn't worried about Miami. Like, at that point, well, they got blown out by New England, but they were 3-1 coming into this Sunday. I wasn't worried about them. Their defense, a lot better than I'll give them credit for. I'll be the bigger guy there. But just the same problems that have occurred from all the way from week 1 until now, they keep happening. Nagy getting conservative with his play calling, playing not to lose as opposed to playing to win. Like this is the NFL. Like I get it that there's some disparity. Some teams aren't as good as others, but at the end of the day, these are all professionals. Like you cannot pretend that the NFL is a drag race. Keep your foot on the gas pedal and just keep going because you're getting conservative on short downs or late game situations. It's bit them in the rear, and they continue to shoot themselves in the foot. Yeah, this loss, I think it was worse than Green Bay. I was in a bad spot yesterday. I was like, all right, it was a 1 o'clock kickoff. I'll watch this game, do some homework. I don't even know what I did for homework because I was just in a funk after that. Like, it's just one of those things when you love a Midwest football team and you ride or die with them. It's just how it goes.
There's not much to talk about with the Lions. They're coming off a bye week. They're giving me the rap, but I gave Jen and Jello a little bit longer, so I'm going to talk about the Lions real quick. Just real quick. It's not much to talk about. They're coming off the bye week. They had just beat the Green Bay Packers, and what it seems to me so far this season is the Lions are playing at the level of their competition. They lost a really bad game week 1 against a Jets team that has looked so-so. They then lost again in week 2 to the San Francisco 49ers. It was a close game. They played a little more respectable there, but still ended up with the loss. Then they came out, stormed the New England Patriots out of the building, and looked pretty good, and it looked like they were turning the season around. Then they played down to the level of the Dallas Cowboys, who I don't think are at a competitive level this season. But the NFC East is another mess. Yeah. I don't think the Cowboys are going to be the one that comes out of that division. But then the Lions then play up to the perceived talent of the Green Bay Packers and the perceived level of them, and they ended up looking really good again there. We'll see what happens. They're coming off a bye week. They're going to play the Dolphins, same exact situation as what the Bears were doing, so it'll be interesting to see how that goes. This one kind of hits a little more closer to my heart because it was my first ever, it was my second ever Lions game, but I bought those tickets for my mom's birthday, so that was the last time the Lions played the Dolphins, and they won. So yeah. I'm hoping for a repeat.
Hopefully the bracket ship doesn't give the Lions same fate that I went through. Because that's another thing, too. To lose to Brock Osweiler.
You're not happy about that.
No, man.
All right. I don't know if Joe's going to give us finger guns this week, but this is the end of Unnecessary Roughness. Next week, we'll have a lot more to talk about. So until then, I'm Jacob Hunting.
Joe Bielanski.
And that'll do it for us.
Yep.